Before Batman had a plan for everything, before Superman had an enemy who could truly test him, there was Nightwing. And the one man who could break him wasn't a god, wasn't a monster, it was Deathstroke, the most dangerous mercenary alive. Their rivalry isn't just about good versus evil, it's about proving who really owns the shadows. Everyone knows the big rivalries in comics: Batman versus Joker, Superman versus Lex Luthor, Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. But rivalries aren't just in comics, they're everywhere. Ohio State versus Michigan, Texas versus Oklahoma, Coke versus Pepsi. These are battles that define entire worlds. And yet, one of the greatest rivalries in superhero history? Hardly anyone ever talks about it. Nightwing versus Deathstroke. This isn't just some random clash between hero and villain. This is a rivalry that's been brewing since Dick Grayson first stepped out of Batman's shadow. And honestly, it might be the most underrated rivalry in all of comics. So let's break it down. Deathstroke's obsession with Dick Grayson started with the Teen Titans. By this point, Dick wasn't Robin anymore. He had stepped into a new role, leader of the Titans. And Deathstroke? He noticed. Slade Wilson isn't your average mercenary. He's enhanced, highly trained, and dangerous enough to take down entire teams by himself. But for some reason, he locked in on Dick Grayson, a hero with no powers, just skills. And it wasn't about beating him in a straight fight. Slade wanted to break him. Take the Judas Contract. Deathstroke manipulated Terra into infiltrating the Titans, tearing the team apart from within, all as part of his plan to crush Nightwing. That's not just villainy. That's obsession. Now here's why this rivalry stands out. When Deathstroke fights Batman, it's gadgets versus strategy. But when he fights Nightwing, it's raw skill versus raw skill. Acrobatics versus technique. Pure determination versus ruthless efficiency. And the crazy thing? Nightwing wins. Batman has struggled against Slade. The Justice League has struggled against Slade. But Dick Grayson? He flips through the fight, cracks a joke in the middle of combat, and still finds a way to walk away victorious. One of the best examples came in the Judas Contract. After all of Slade's planning, all of his schemes, it's Dick Grayson who outsmarts him and brings him down. No powers, no armor, just pure leadership and skill. Later, during Identity Crisis, we see it again. Dick goes toe-to-toe with Deathstroke in ways other heroes simply can. There's even that iconic moment where Nightwing disarms Slade mid-fight and says, "You're good. But I'm better." Not bravado, just the truth. And in the Titans 2008 series, it's Dick once again who stands between Slade and his team. Every time Slade targets the Titans, Nightwing is the one who rises to stop him. Here's where it gets fascinating. Deathstroke doesn't respect many people. He barely respects Batman. He doesn't respect the League. But Nightwing, he's different. Slade has called Dick his equal, sometimes even his better. That's because Dick represents everything Slade isn't: hope, morality, loyalty, and yet he still matches Slade blow for blow. In a twisted way, Deathstroke admires that. It's not just about defeating Nightwing. It's about proving himself against him. This isn't a rivalry of convenience. It's personal. That's what makes it one of the greatest rivalries in comics. Batman versus Joker is chaos versus order. Superman versus Lex is power versus ideology. But Nightwing versus Deathstroke? It's personal. It's two peak fighters with opposite worldviews, locked in an endless test of willpower and skill. One fights for money. The other fights for people. One is fueled by cold efficiency, the other by heart. And every single time they clash, it feels like two legends pushing each other to the absolute limit. So yeah, call it forgotten if you want. But Nightwing versus Deathstroke isn't just a rivalry. It's the rivalry that proves you don't need powers, cosmic destiny, or world-ending stakes to tell one of the greatest stories in comics. It's about two men who can't stop testing each other. Two men who, in their own way, respect each other more than anyone else. And that's why Nightwing versus Deathstroke is one of the greatest rivalries in superhero history.
You've got your rules. Well, I've got mine too.